Should you niche down with your content? What's going on, people? My name is Zulfikar and welcome to my YouTube channel, which is about equipping you with the tools you need to go to war with yourself and a society fighting to keep you weak. I talk about self-improvement in the field of mind, body and soul to help you overcome the conditioning and programming of this degenerate society we find ourselves in today, in order for you to fashion a life for yourself full of purpose, meaning, direction, fulfillment and spiritual consciousness. If you are aligned with that message, please click on the subscribe button so that you can receive more content on these topics. Back to today's video, which is about whether you should niche down with your content. Now, a lot of people struggle with, what niche to pick, what should I talk about, what should I create content with, and for many it's the number one reason as to why they don't even get started. So I'm not going to talk too much about what niche you should pick because I've already done some videos on this topic before. There's two videos that you can check out, which I will put up on the screen and put in the comments below. The first one is the best way to get organized, which I did recently, and previously I did a specific video on how to pick a niche. But just to have a quick recap, when it comes to picking a niche, the questions that you need to ask yourself are quite simple. Ultimately, it's who do you want to help, why and how. Then mix that up with your skills, experiences, thoughts and feelings and create content for your target audience. And you're gonna get content ideas throughout the day, so it's always good to have something there. Like I use my phone and the notes app on my phone. Every time I have a content idea, I quickly put it in the notes and then I'll come back to it later on, where I have got an actual content planner where I obviously plan out the content, then I write the content out in more detail and tailor it for the platforms that I want to put that content out on. Just a couple of tips about your content planner. Use a spreadsheet. I use a spreadsheet and I have my content segmented for different topics. So you, for example, depending on what topics you choose, you could have a bucket list of spirituality, business, lifestyle, animals, whatever your content topics are. Just separate them, and then every time you have a content idea, put them in the correct list, and that will help you build up content in a more easier fashion for your target audience. Now, that's what many of the gurus tell you to do as well. Just pick 1 to 3 topics that you're going to concentrate on and then just create content on those topics. Don't get distracted, don't go outside of those topics, simply stick to those topics. Now, that is good advice. Obviously it works, which is why they're giving you this advice. It helps you stay focused, it helps you build a brand so people know exactly what to expect when they come to your content and come towards your brand. Here's the problem with that strategy. If you niche down too much, it starts to become boring. For example, I decided not too long ago to specifically stick to the niche of business, and I started creating content on business, and everything was about building an online business, etc. But it got boring very fast. I got bored, and when you get bored, you're in big trouble, because once you get bored, that's it. You're not going to have the motivation, the desire and the discipline to sit down and actually create content. And my view is, if I'm bored, then other people are bored as well. You only have to look at some of the gurus out there, or some of the people consistently putting out content. There are legitimately gurus who are saying the same thing today that they were saying last year, and it's exactly what they were saying the year before. It gets boring, and what happens, it happens for me, I don't know if it happens to other people, but now when I see content from these gurus, I don't even see it anymore. I see their name, but I just scroll past because it's the same stuff. It's got no impact, it's got no effect, and it's just boring. Ultimately, when it comes to content, it's about what your aims actually are. If you're building a specific brand for a specific audience, then by all means just create content catered towards that specific audience and that specific brand. But if you are building a personal brand, the whole point of having a personal brand is to inject it with your personality. A personal brand without personality is a bland brand, and if there's something that you don't want to do is have a brand which is bland. Here's the thing, content creation is an art. It takes time, it takes effort to create content. Content should be an expression of the self. It should be about things you have an interest in, things that you are passionate about, whilst also balancing it out with what people want to hear and what people will find useful and helpful. It needs to be satisfying and fulfilling for you. If you're not satisfied with the content you create, you're going to burn out very, very quickly. And if you don't have the energy and the passion behind the content you create, other people are going to see it and they're going to be turned off with what you're putting out. And if you're only putting out content for other people, then the problem that you're going to face is that you're going to become a slave to what other people want. You're going to become a slave to validation, because success for you then is going to be determined purely and solely on the response that you get from other people. Whereas when you're putting out content for yourself and for your inner satisfaction, it's not really going to matter whether you get a response or not, because it's something you're doing for yourself. And another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that content creation is a responsibility. Most people are irresponsible with the content they put out. They just throw out anything, and that is another tactic people use to kind of fish for what's hot in the market. But you've got to realize that people are watching. You have no idea who's watching, you have no idea who's listening. There are people out there who are really struggling in silence. There are people who they're on social media every day, they scroll silently, but they never comment, they never interact, but they are watching on a daily basis. And the content you create will have an impact on people. You legitimately can make people happy, you can motivate people, you can inspire people, but you can also make people feel down and depressed if you're not careful and you're not aware of what content you're putting out. Personally, I'm not going to be niching down too much with the content that I put out from now on. Obviously, I've got the main topics and main themes that I'm going to predominantly talk about, but I'm going to be talking about anything and everything that I find interesting, and obviously try to turn it in a fashion that will also help bring value to you, the viewer. I'm also going to be experimenting with different things to see what's hot and what's not, because this is more of an exploration for myself as much as it is about helping other people. And you should do the same. It's easy to say, well, you should only talk about this and that, but ultimately you're never going to know what to talk about unless and until you put content out there and you see what the reaction is. You don't know what's going to hit unless and until you put it out there. So should you niche down your content? Ultimately, it depends on what your intentions and goals are. If you have a very specific plan for a specific target audience, then yes, keep it specific. But if you want to have a personal brand where you come on and you talk about whatever you want to talk about, then niching down is going to set you back, because you're going to get bored very, very quickly. And I'll end with this final thought. Ultimately, it doesn't matter whether you niche down or not. Both work. There are people who are very successful because they've been specific to their niche, but there are also other people who have been successful by not niching down and talking about wherever they want. It's their magnetic personality and the power of their content which has attracted a tribe of people around them. So just keep that in mind. The point is not to pressurize yourself to go one way or the other. Different things work. Try things, experiment, and see where you get to. But the bottom line is, ultimately, you do need to be putting out content. So putting out some content is better than putting out no content. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you struggled with the type of content that you want to put out? Are you struggling with the question, what niche do I pick? Or are you having success with a current content strategy? Let me know below. If you found value in this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and please make sure you hit the subscribe button. And until the next video, take care now. Bye bye.